A landmark moment for Turkish military aerospace. The maiden flight of the KAAN fighter, the country's first homegrown warplane and fifth-generation jet.
Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about the fifth-generation fighter jet that Turkey is manufacturing and developing indigenously. It appears that Turkey has, in a stealth fashion, and the pun is intended, in a secret way, in a stealth way, has become a powerhouse when it comes to air warfare. Not only are its drones having a global impact, but apparently its fifth-generation fighter, which is under development, but which did have its first demonstration flight last year on 21st of February 2024, where it flew for about 15 minutes, and you can see the video of that particular flight. It shows that it is quite a promising fighter, and it belongs to the fifth generation. It is somewhat modeled on the F-35 because, as you all know, Turkey was part of the F-35 project. So I guess some technology transfer must have taken place. And it is working in cooperation with the British aeronautical engineering company, BAE, which is now a sort of a defense consultant for manufacturing, design, etc. So the fifth generation fighter from Turkey is called KAAN, K-A-A-N. I don't know how the Turks pronounce it. And with the flight last year, Turkey is now among the four countries, the only four countries which now have a fifth generation fighter which has flown. So they are the United States, Russia, China, and now Turkey. There are two other countries which are in various stages of development, which is South Korea, which is trying to develop a fifth generation fighter called KAI, and India, which is trying to manufacture something called AMCA by its company Hindustan Aeronautical Limited. But for that, they are waiting for engines, jet engines from the United States, F414 engines, which have not yet come. And so that manufacturing of that particular fifth generation fighter has been delayed until they are able to get access to some fighter jet engines. But we will talk a bit more about how Turkey has become not just a mid-level power, which is bordering on great power border with capacity to develop such advanced technological weapons, but along with its drones, it has become a major player when it comes to even exports of its military products. Turkey has, I think, last year exported something upwards of $4 billion worth of weapons. And what is also interesting is the reason why the development of KAAN has attracted my attention is that I wanted to do a conversation about it last year, and I tried to reach out to some Turkish scholars, but none of them I couldn't find one who knew enough about fifth generation fighter jets, etc. But the reason why I'm doing it now myself is because there has been a lot of interesting news about this. But before I go any further, please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. And the reason why KAAN is in news is because Saudi Arabia has decided to order 100 of these jets. They are moving away from F-35s, and they have chosen to buy KAAN and help Turkey develop this, because the more orders Turkey gets, the more funding is available for research and development, and so they can move faster from the stage where they have prototypes to actually manufacturing. Manufacturing is not easy to be able to produce these highly sophisticated shall we say, machines in large numbers requires an entirely different production capacity and capability. So you might even have the research and the brain power to design a highly sophisticated fifth generation fighter and even develop a prototype in the lab. But to be able to manufacture it, not just for consumption domestically also, but for export requires a greater degree of industrialization, and it requires a lot of funding. So this order from Saudi Arabia for 100 KAANs is, I think, something that is going to expedite the development and mass production of the fifth generation Turkish fighter. It's not just Saudi Arabia, but it's also United Arab Emirates, which has placed an order for KAAN and is also contemplating building fighter jets, fifth generation fighters based on the model of the KAAN. They already have F-35s, and they're choosing to move away from F-35, partly because F-35 is extremely expensive to buy and extremely expensive to maintain. And the United Nations, in the United States, does not really give you the best. For every weapon that the US has, it has kind of 3 tiers, 3 levels. The best we keep for ourselves, the second best we give to Israel, and then the third best we give to the rest of the powers in the world. So in that sense, if you're buying F-35s, then your F-35s are definitely inferior to the ones that Israel is flying, and are also definitely inferior to the ones that the US is flying. So you're getting a third-class version of a top-class fighters at top-class prices. So I think that the Emiratis have decided to go with perhaps the first-class KAAN that they can get from Turkey. If Turkey is going to give them the best of their production, then perhaps it might even be better than the third-rate F-35. There is also this plan, and I don't know how serious the plan is, of Turkey and Pakistan jointly manufacturing KAAN. I don't know whether Pakistan has the strategic autonomy to go anywhere else to buy, because they recently announced that they are going to buy China's fifth generation fighter J-35. They have, I think, placed an order for about 40 of them. Pakistan already has J-20s and I think J-10s. So they are all heavily invested into the Chinese technological ecosystem when it comes to fighter jets, etc. So for them to be able to move away from that and start manufacturing with Turkey, which is more or less modeled on the Western fighter jet, F-35, along with some consultancy from BAE. Right now, there are about 5 countries which are developing advanced technology when it comes to fighter jets. They're also working on improving the jets they already have. The USA has various versions of F-35s, like I talked about, F-35s that carry nukes, F-35s that don't carry nuke. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there were many, many orders placed for F-35. Finland, Canada, Italy, Germany, and other European countries have ordered. I think even Finland has ordered many F-35s. So there's a mass production of F-35s taking place. So of the 5 countries that are working on it, there are 3 countries in now Turkey who actually have a working model. But of that, only China and the US are able to mass produce. So China has produced a large number of J-20s, which qualify as a fifth generation fighter. They also have, since 2021, J-35s. Right now, they haven't sold many J-35s, but they are ready to manufacture and sell them. They have about 200 J-20s, which are the which meets the benchmarks of a fifth generation fighter. But China is also working on a J-40, the 6th generation fighter. If you look at the picture of the J-40, it looks amazingly sexy. You know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a pilot. And anyway, I went off to engineering school. But when I saw the picture or the design of J-40, I wished I was younger and who could fly fighter jets again, or could fly fighter jets. So anyway, this is an interesting development. Let me tell you what the basic minimum standards are for a plane to qualify as a 5th generation fighter, and how KAAN actually makes that. It's a twin-engine all-weather aircraft. Its range is over 3,000 kilometers. It has a maximum speed of Mach 1.8, so it nearly flies twice the speed of sound. Its surface ceiling is 55,000 feet. It is equipped with advanced sensors and weapons, and it carries a lot of missiles, potentially. There are different versions of KAAN, I guess. All fighter jets are highly sophisticated when it comes to electronics. They are necessarily stealth fighters, which means they have very advanced radar system, radar blocking mechanisms and strategies, and they are heavily integrated into network. So basically, the difference between an fourth generation and a fifth generation fighter jet is the degree to which they are networked, and so there's a lot of electronics and software that also goes into making a fourth generation fighter and the fifth generation fighter. So basically, of the top three countries, Russia has an Su-57, and they are working on an Su-75. The Su-57, apparently there are not many versions of it. There was an exhibition, I think, in India, India Aerospace, something 2025, where both F-35s and Su-57s were on display. But apparently Russia does not have many Su-F-77s. They haven't mass manufactured it either for their own deployment or for mass marketing. So India probably, if it chooses to buy Su-57, which will make Donald Trump very, very angry, over F-35s, because apparently listening to people in India, they think that F-35 is one of the most expensive disasters in aerospace engineering history. So probably India is not going to buy that, but so far the Russians have not been able to mass manufacture and sell F-57, but they are working on the sixth generation version, which is Su-75. There is no European version of a fifth generation fighter, even on the cards, I think, which is quite interesting, especially given the fact that Donald Trump is so likely to either completely undermine NATO or completely undermine Article 5, which is the heart of NATO. And this withdrawal of US troops from Europe might leave Europe vulnerable. It's quite possible they may start buying fighter jets from developing countries like China and India. China, of course, has a large fleet of nearly 300 J-20s. They have large number of J-35, which are being onboarded as we speak. And they have another one, the sixth generation J-40, which is on the drawing board. So this is an interesting development. And with support from Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, I think Turkey might be able to be successful. It gives Turkey a lot of autonomy from the United States, especially with the weakening of NATO. The connection between Turkey and the US was primarily as members of NATO. And otherwise, Turkey has been treated as a frenemy, as a friendly enemy, and there have been lots of reasons why they have not been great partners in the past few years, especially under Erdogan. And President Erdogan's decision to buy S-400 anti-aircraft systems from Russia further angered the United States and led it to expel Turkey from the F-35 project. And I think that was probably a good thing to happen to Turkey, which, even though it had started working on KAAN, the fifth generation fighter, in 2010, being excluded from the F-35 project gave them both some know-how and a technological impetus and a strategic necessity to develop their own jet fighters. Turkish Air Force has been quite active in the past few years. If you remember, a Turkish fighter shot down a Russian Air Force plane a few years ago on the border. They have been bombing in both Syria and Iraq, heavy sorties. So Turkish Air Force is a working Air Force, and it has an old fleet of F-15s and F-16s, and they are hoping that KAAN, as a fifth generation fighter, will essentially replace the F-16 fleet, which is getting quite old now. A couple of thoughts on Turkey. Turkey is probably one of the most developed of all Muslim countries in the world. It is a leader. It is basically a country which is in Asia as well as in Europe. It is in the Muslim world. It's an important voice in OIC, but it's also in the Western world. It's a member of NATO. After the United States, it has the biggest army in NATO. And even though it's not a nuclear power, it is a very powerful, one of the most powerful European countries, you could say. The only other countries that are probably comparable to Turkey militarily are Poland and France. And France is a nuclear power, if you remember. But the Turks have been moving on. The Turks, the private sector, they have developed what we call as drone capacities. And Bayraktar TB2 drone has gained a lot of attention in the world. It is price is about between 2 to 5 million. So Turkish drones are very cheap and extremely effective. There are two wars in which Turkish drones, and there was a wonderful article in the New Yorker about the Bayraktar TB2. You're seeing the screenshot of that article just published in 2022 and the impact it had. Basically, when Russia was attacking Kiev directly, and its forces are coming from Belarus as well as from the north towards Kiev, Ukraine used Turkish drones to essentially target all the caravans and basically Russian troops. And that was most of the convoys, Russian military convoys, were hit hard by Turkish drones. And they're very inexpensive. And so you could use a $2 million drone to cause huge, devastating impact on enemy troops, especially on the ground. And then, of course, in the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, the Turkish drones did play a tremendous role in destroying the basically artillery, tanks, and armored vehicles that Armenia had. So Armenia had, in a conventional sense, a greater military strength, but the drones played a decisive role, and one of those rare occasions where an Asian country defeated a Western European country. So it was an important victory for Turkey, and Turkish drones have since become very popular. And there are rumors that the Bangladeshis have some of these Bayraktar TB2s, which they have been flying over Assam in India. But there are many countries who are now eager to buy the Turkish drones. Especially Ukraine has been taking advantage of the low-cost, high-efficiency, high performance of Turkish drones. So with the development of drone technology and now with the development of fifth-generation fighter jet, I mean, it is other than the top three, this is the only country which has a fifth-generation fighter jet which has actually performed in the air. Yes, it was only for, I think, 13 to 15 minutes, but yes, it flew last year. The model is ready to go and they are ready to build. So this is an interesting development. Turkey is, as I said, a mid-level power, but it's also a decent economy. It's a high middle income economy with about 13,000 per capita in income. It's about $1.2, $1.4 trillion GDP. For its population, obviously, that is pretty good. So Turkey is on the verge of becoming an important military force, and with its exports and with its connections in OIC and other Muslim countries, I think Turkey may start competing with France, Russia, and the United States and China in exporting high-performance weaponry to the Middle East. I do want to say, however, one thing, that it is perhaps that I don't think there will be a seventh generation jet fighter. We are moving towards drones, and so whatever the seventh generation technology will emerge, it will be unmanned. Why risk a human being when you can have a drone which is far more sophisticated and can be operated using artificial intelligence? So I think the nature of warfare is going to change significantly, especially with the development of AI and weaponization of AI. So I think while Turkey is obviously becoming a developed and advanced military power by investing in this, I think that it is important for countries which are trying to catch up with India, China, with the US, China, and Russia. Even countries like India, they should probably think a little further ahead and say, okay, we may have missed the bus for fighter jet of the fifth generation type, but why not just aim for what's coming beyond that? Why not see what kind of impact artificial intelligence is going to have on air warfare? So I think that is something to keep in mind. And for the Turks who are watching this, congratulations. Please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.